What's going on, everybody? This is Tom with Lagline News, bringing you another video game news article. Today we're going to be talking about how Sony is in hot water again, facing another class action lawsuit. The article we're going to be reading from today is from TechSpot by Rob Thuberon. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name, man. Sony faces another class action lawsuit over PlayStation Store prices and monopolistic practices. Not surprising. It seems to me like they actually hold around 80% of the console consumer base within the Netherlands. But let's see what they say. To me, it seems kind of odd that Sony is actually continuously increasing prices outside of the United States. So, according to the legal representation of the Fair PlayStation's campaign, at least 1.7 million Dutch PlayStation owners pay too much for digital downloads. Economic research shows consumers pay an average of 47% more for digital versions than the exact same game on physical disc. And my personal experiences, I've actually noticed the same thing too. In Steam, Xbox, Nintendo, you name it. Every time if I want a cheaper game, I'm going to go to Walmart or something. I'm going to go to a GameStop somewhere, and I guarantee you the prices will be severely cheaper than if you buy it online. Sometimes, you get discounts on platforms such as Steam, Origin, Epic, etc., etc. But overall, if you want a game any moment, it seems like going to buy the hard physical copy is the best way to get a better price. Or you can go to like cdkeys.com or some other online retailer as well like that. But anyways, according to the Dutch Mass Damage and Consumer Foundation, these actions have led to so-called Sony tax, as artificially high prices and DLC forcing gamers to pay more than they would in a market with competition. It is claimed that in addition to exploiting its dominant position, Sony bans other potential app stores from having access to the PlayStation platform. That definitely sounds very sketchy of Sony. But as we've heard in other recent articles, like with Nintendo, they're not exactly afraid of any other console taking their spot. This situation is a lucrative one for Sony. Not only is it given a final say on how much the game will sell for on its store, but the distribution costs are lower compared to physical releases. It means that a Japanese giant makes more than twice as much margin on digital games as in physical copies, while holding a monopolistic 80% share of the Dutch console market. I believe that's just only on consoles. That's not including headphones, cameras, TVs, and other items such as those. I believe it's specifically talking about only gaming consoles. The bottom line is, since 2013, the practice has allegedly cost Dutch consumers 435 million euros, or if in America, $505 million, which is astronomical. Seems like they are increasing the prices everywhere else except for the United States. It seems like Sony just keeps increasing the prices of all their other consoles, excluding their PS5 Pro, which, for right now at least, is staying around the same price budget comparatively to the other ones where they keep increasing the prices by 30, 40, 50 plus dollars. And they've been doing that since 2022, allegedly. Also mentioned is the fact that Sony raised the price of the PlayStation 5 across Europe and New Zealand in April, citing the challenging economic environment that includes both high inflation and fluctuating exchange rates. I have another article pulled up right here by the TechSpot again. Back in April 14th, PlayStation 5 price bump hits Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. Sony blames the economy. And this is referring basically back to them coming out of the rut with the chip shortage during the whole COVID crisis that the world faced. They were basically coming out of it at that point, so they decided to increase the price of the console, which does make sense to me since, chip shortage, and then you weren't able to make as many consoles. Therefore, as soon as the chips start rolling out again after COVID, you're going to want to jack up the prices. That way you can make up for your losses. And this is a very interesting article. But basically, scroll down here. In the summer of 2022, Sony raised the price of the PS5 in several regions outside of the US. The challenging global economic environment was cited as the reason for the hike. In fairness, the industry is also coming out of the chip shortage brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic a few years prior to that. So it just seems very interesting that for some reason Sony keeps jacking up the prices of the PlayStation, while historically it's always just gone down in prices. I mean, same thing goes for Nintendo, Xbox, uh, everything else. Seems like usually the prices come down. But now Sony decided they actually wanted to increase their prices this time around. I can't say I entirely blame them. I mean, they are in the business to make money, and they do not feel threatened by Microsoft or Nintendo, and they're their biggest competitors. Well, specifically, Nintendo is their biggest competitor within Japan. All over the world, it would be Microsoft who would be tailgating them. It's hoped that the first hearing in the case will take place later this year. The foundation says that it should be successful. Sony will be obliged to open up the market for the sale of digital PlayStation content to other providers. Sony is no stranger to this kind of lawsuit. In the UK, consumers' rights champion Alex Neil launched a $7.9 billion case action lawsuit. I'm sorry, $7.9 billion class action lawsuit against Sony back in August of 2022. It was accused of breaching competition law by abusing its market power and imposing unfair terms and conditions on the game developers and publishers, thereby pushing up the selling price of the digital titles for consumers. Sony failed to have a suit thrown out in 2023, and the trial is scheduled to begin on March 2nd, 2026. And the estimated duration will be around 8 weeks. So we'll see. Hopefully Sony, I'm not gonna lie, I hope Sony actually gets taken down for this one. I want to see them to go down in this class action lawsuit, because I think it'd be better for the consumer and everybody else if they were taken down a peg. I mean, they didn't even release enough PS5s back in the day when they actually released it over 4 years ago. So them increasing up the prices as much as they are within, all these areas outside of the United States just seems crazy. Like back to this article, the in Europe PS5 digital edition now carries a recommended retail price of 500 euros. That's up from previous rate of 450 euros. And the €399 launch price when the system debuted a little over 4 years ago. In the UK, you'll now pay $430 for PS5 digital edition, previously $390. So they are just continuously just increasing the prices over and over again for everything, excluding the PS5 Pro, at least for now. But I think before too long, you're going to be seeing a lot more for that. I mean, look, New Zealanders are paying almost $1,000 for the digital version. And I believe that's Australia AUD. Yes, AUD is $830. That is astronomical for a PS5. For any of them, I don't care. I'm sorry. It is not worth that much. They need to seriously lower the prices, but we'll see what happens in these lawsuits, guys. I really hope that the Netherlands can actually really stick it to them and get them to bring down their prices. Not just for them, but for everybody else around the world. Because it's only a matter of time before they decide that, hey, we can do whatever we want, especially if they win these lawsuits. So I'm hoping that it works. But anyways, tell me what you guys think down in the comments section. And if you like what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video. And this is Tom with Lagline News, signing off.